Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bravo Tea with the Stay-at-Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to talk all things Bravo.
Welcome back, everybody. And on this episode, we're going to be recapping last week's Real Housewives of Orange County, and we're going to get into some Bravo tea at the end. We'll talk about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills trailer and Southern Charm. So excited to be getting those shows back in December. But let's pick up where we left off from last time. Heather, Tamra, and Jen. Jen stormed out of the hotel room. Heather is like, Jen, can you come back? Because we need conflict and then resolution immediately. And Heather looks at Tamra and says, don't clap. Don't do that. Tamra can't help it. She literally looked like a psycho. Like, she just gets that look when you're fighting with her in her eyes that is just like pure evil, pure hatred. You want to like punch her in the face. There was multiple times later in the episode where I would have wanted to punch her in the face. So I don't think she has to worry about Ryan getting in trouble with the law. It's going to be Jen or Shannon by the end of the season potentially punching Tamra in the face. Jen said she has nothing left to say to Tamra, even though she does peek back in the room. She's like, you don't have a soul. And then Heather goes, oh, well, that's just not nice to say. And then in the confessional, thank God, Jen said, Heather, you're the one that flipped out when you thought Katie was like saying you staged paparazzi, but I'm not allowed to flip out at this moment. And it's true. A lot of these people have double standards, or it's like, do as I say, not as I do. So it was okay for multiple episodes, Heather to freak out. No, I would never stage paparazzi, which like, even if you did, like, who cares? That's really not that big of a deal. Not at all as big of a deal as what's being said about Ryan and what Tamra is constantly saying about Shannon. So the fact that Heather doesn't want Jen's feelings to get hurt, or she doesn't want her to fight with Tamra, it's like, okay, well, maybe you shouldn't be fighting with Katie. There, bye. And then Tamra says to Jen, we weren't in a good place then. That's why this was happening. But does that mean when you're not in a good place with a friend, you run a background check on their boyfriend? Like, I'm just confused how Tamra's justifying this. And she's going to want to spin it and blame it all on Shannon. So Jen leaves, and Tamra says to Heather, when this guy first came to her gym, he was saying he used to be friends with Ryan, but he's not anymore because he was involved in this scandal selling timeshares that weren't even built yet, but Ryan was collecting the HOA fees, allegedly. So I had Ryan slip into the DMs the other week because I reposted his post because it said lies all over it when Tamra was saying this. And then he wrote that these are all blatant lies. So I reposted it and he said, thank you. I am hoping and praying and fingers crossed that him and Jen are going to come on the podcast. I said, I would love to have you guys come on, could share your side, to talk about whatever you want when the season's over. And he said he's going to talk to Jen about it and get back to me. So fingers crossed. I know I've talked to a couple people in the DMs, but I'm hoping one of them is going to pull through. And I would love to have them on the show because, hey, I know that there are two sides to people. Like, Tamra wants us to believe Ryan's bad, but maybe he really isn't. And I feel like he is showing us a positive side. Just the fact that he's taking Jen in and all her children, like, that's not his responsibility at the end of the day. And some men would be like, oh, I really like you, but you have 5 kids. No, I'm out. Ryan's in it for the long haul. He's supporting those children more than the own father. And I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And we know that Tamara's done this in the past. I've been watching Jim Bellino. He was on Sarah Fraser's podcast, and I listened to some of the clips on Instagram. I always thought he was the douche. It's really Alexis, obviously, we're seeing. So that's what I mean. These shows make us want to like hate the men, I feel like, or the boyfriends and husbands. But really, at the end of the day, it's usually these women we need to hate and be mad at. So Tamra is also saying to Heather that, of course, Shannon did not show Jen the whole text and that Shannon was kind of in on it also. So Tamra first sent this to Shannon, and then Shannon said, oh my gosh, can you look into this because David's crazy new wife's ex-husband, so her ex-husband, David Bedour, Leslie, I think her name is. So Leslie's ex-husband was apparently named in this lawsuit. So I don't feel like Shannon was asking Tamra, oh, can you look into this because I want to know dirt on Ryan? It was more like, Oh, well, you're saying you're already going to run like a background check and check on this because of Ryan. Can you check on it and let me know? Because I'd like to know the information because of my ex-husband's new wife's ex-husband is involved in it. So I know Tamra's trying to point the blame at somebody else besides herself, but I really don't think Shannon cared to know about Ryan. And the texts were on TV. So when I read it, it was more like, oh, like when you look into this, can you tell me about it? And it's like at the end of the day, Tamra, you're the one that's telling Shannon and you're the one that said you're going to look into it. So then Heather said to Tamra, oh, Jen looks really good. Her stomach looks good. And then Tamra said, yeah, good tummy tuck. Are you jealous because your facelift back in the day was horrendous? If anyone ever remembers that nasty ass scar behind Tamra's ears, like obviously she's just jealous and mad because she's picked the wrong plastic surgeons in Orange County, which I don't know how you do because I feel like there's so many out there. And not to be mean, but what is wrong with Tamra's arms all season? First of all, whoever styled her in the confessionals did a horrendous job because all of the outfits are ugly. But also, all of the outfits are not covering up her weird upper arm. It's like all saggy and wrinkly. It's weird. It's almost like she used to be like all like really fat, but she never was. And then she lost the weight and that's like loose skin kind of, but it's more wrinkly than loose. But I don't know what's going on because she exercises all the time too. So I don't know what's going on with her arms and I don't know what's going on with her stylist, but both need to be reevaluated by the end of the season. But then Shannon meets up with her two daughters, and how special that they were in Paris and then flew over from London. So the one has like no voice, which I need to address my voice. I didn't at the beginning. I have a little bit of a cold because we did not make it out alive of Disney. My husband on the very last day on the plane was like, I'm starting to not feel well. And I was like, oh, great. So obviously I got the little cold, just stuffy nose, but I know I probably sound weird on here, so I have to say it. But Shannon's daughters have both kind of lost their voice because they're just partying and having the time of their life because they're in their early 20s. I mean, don't we all remember those days? And they're having a nice little girls' lunch. And one of the daughters said, yeah, I mean, the way to like get over a hangover is just not stop and keep going. And Shannon's like, okay. Like, I feel like she's probably like, oh my God, can you please not talk about alcohol or hangovers or DUIs or anything around me? I'm already getting it enough with Tamra. And then the daughters order a drink and then she orders a Diet Coke, but she gets a vodka and club soda. I feel like any other time we would cut drink orders out to save time, but the producers want to always make sure we're highlighting that Shannon's having a drink. The only thing I can ever highlight or comment about that is a little strange about Shannon, she never orders like a cute drink, especially at all these like cute fancy places they're going to. Like all the ladies are usually getting espresso martinis or like I love a good skinny spicy margarita. I love an espresso martini as well. But like she just always gets club soda and vodka. And I'm like, ew, I mean, I feel like that's what you get when you're like at a dive bar or like a nightclub, but not at like a cutesy dinner place. So that's the only thing I need to raise concern about Shannon's drinking is like her choices of drink, honestly. So then the daughters are like, what's with your love life? Are you going to like meet a man and find a man out here? And she's like, no. And they're like, I kind of want a European lover. So they're both single, but alluding to that they have had their fair share of men in these escapades in Paris that they're in. Then Tamra, Heather, and Gina go to this little caviar place. Looks super cute. Loving Gina's wardrobe. I know everyone was like shading her for that one confessional outfit, but like, I don't think it was that bad. She said if she stood up, it looked better. And I think people were ragging on her hair, but it was just very voluminous. But I'm loving her looks in London. I like them all. And I thought Tamra and Heather's outfits were cute too, because I know I was ragging on Tamra's, and usually I'm not digging Tamra's thus far, but I really liked everybody's outfit at this lunch. But they're all having caviar. And then the other group, Katie, Jen, and Emily, go out to a bar because Jen needs a little like bar food and a beverage. So she gets a Malibu and Diet Coke. So her drink order is concerning as well. She's like, oh, do you have Malibu? And it's like all the way at the top shelf up there, like probably has like dust on it because like who goes to London and drinks that? And who honestly goes to a bar and drinks that unless you're like in college? I mean, that's what I probably the first like liquor that I had too, because it's like so sweet and doesn't taste like alcohol. I mean, I just can't believe at her age, she's still like, yeah, that's what I want. I don't care if I'm in the Bahamas or I'm in London. That's my drink. And I'm like, ew, but it's just so sweet. Like, I'll give you a pass if you're on the beach in the Bahamas, but like in London, I don't know. It's weird. So then she reveals the text from Shannon that she went and just screamed at Tamra about. And Emily and Katie said that that's wrong. And this is also the topic of conversation at the caviar store. But then we quickly switch gears to Katie's daughter telling Tamra weeks ago. So this was at their little candle making when they both brought the girls, that Emily's twin 8-year-old boys said, oh, we don't like Heather because she's mean to our mom. So then Tamra went out with Gina and Emily. So we're seeing these like flashbacks. And she told Emily about it. And then Emily said, oh, no. It's the other way around. My son said that Katie's daughter said Heather's mean to my mom, which I could believe, because if we're going to say which mom would be shit talking to their children, I'm going to vote for Katie with the 19-year-old daughter, not Emily with the twin 8-year-old boys. First of all, they're boys, so they definitely don't care about this BS. But second of all, they're 8. Like Gina said in her confessional, all they're concerned about is like if they're going to have apples or carrots as their snack and when is bedtime, which I agree. Like, I don't think Emily would talk about any of this stuff to her kids because they're too young. But even if she maybe would be talking about it to Shane, I don't think the boys would care and care to repeat it. So I find it so weird that Katie's 19-year-old daughter, who is babysitting them, is like shit talking with 8-year-olds. And it's just so weird. So Gina said to Heather, after that happened, Shane and Emily agreed that Katie's daughter was never going to come over and babysit again. And I just think that's pretty wild. Like, I really didn't think Katie would be like that and kind of involve her daughter. But again, like I said, her daughter is 19. I'm more disappointed in the fact that her 19-year-old daughter is talking like that to 8-year-old boys. I mean, we all worry enough finding babysitters as parents. So the fact that this is what you're sitting around talking to the kids about, like, what else are you doing? Or what else are you saying? Or what are you putting on the TV around them? So it's like a whirlwind of weird stuff that's probably going through Emily's head. Like, okay, great. Thought this would work out because your mom seems nice and I know you. And that obviously didn't work out. But then Jen FaceTimes Ryan and tells him what happened. And she's like, I said that Tamra had no soul. And he said that too. And then she's like, yeah. And then Heather said that was me and I shouldn't say that. And he's like, oh, good. I would love to see more when they like FaceTime or get home and tell the men about everything that happened. I remember specifically one time on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. It was when Teresa had just come back from prison. So her, John, Melissa were like getting along, or at least faking getting along. And Jacqueline was like on the outs with them, but she was there and they all went to that like ski lodge thing. And that was when like Siggy was on the show and everyone was fighting really bad. And Joe Gorga was like, oh my God, this is like better than a soap opera watching all you people. Like, this is hilarious. And I feel like that's what all these men feel when these women get back from the trips or FaceTime on the trips. Like, oh, you're never going to believe we're screaming at each other at this restaurant and in Europe. And it's like, oh my God, like, is this like days of our lives? It's just wild. So then, appropriate for them, they're all going to go to an etiquette class before dinner. And Tamra says to Heather, oh, just me? And she's like, no, everybody. But it's like, yeah, you really especially need to go. And they all sit down at the etiquette class and immediately are like talking about like bowel movements. So Shannon has not gone to the bathroom in days, which is concerning. She said she's starting to feel bloated. She kind of does look bloated. I know she's wearing black, but I could like tell she just looked bloated. And Emily was like, Katie gave me one of her like poop pill vitamins and I'm about to like poop my pants. So if I get up from the table, that's where I'm going. And the etiquette class lady is just like sitting there. It's like, she's probably like, this group is just a lost cause. But I got a TMI for everybody. If anyone ever has problems, the trick is you have to eat some apricots as your nighttime snack. So I have 4 to 5 apricots. Every night I get the big bag at Costco. They're very yummy. Like, it's almost like you're having like gummy candy because it's like chewy, but chewy in a good way, like you're having candy. Have them every morning, like clockwork, regular. And you got to have lots of water when you travel. And I read that you should be taking magnesium when you travel, but I take a magnesium pill every night anyway. And I do spray the bottom of my feet with magnesium. Just all these little tips. But Shannon and Emily have to pack magnesium, load up on the water, and maybe they need some apricots on this trip. I feel like it's the jet lag. They probably are dehydrated because they're drinking. Probably just not sleeping well, because I feel like whenever you travel, like the bed sometimes isn't necessarily uncomfortable, but like what's with the hotel pillows? They are not firm at all. And even if you pile a bunch of them up, it's not supportive for the neck. It's no good. But then Jen tells Tamra she needs to own up to that text and to stay out of their business. And of course, immediately Tamra is trying to call out Shannon, blame it on Shannon. And Jen's like, oh, so you never said that Ryan's a bookie or anything about the FBI? And it's like, yeah, you need to own up to what you are doing. Like maybe Jen will be upset with Shannon in a different time and have a different conversation. But right now, like Gina said, we're just trying to get you to own up to your part. And it's like, we're not maybe brushing aside what Shannon did or her involvement, but we're talking to you right now. It's your turn to be on the chopping block and you need to like take accountability for it. And then Shannon's like, I'm tired of you blaming everything on me, Tamra. And then, of course, as always, Tamra says to Shannon, oh, shut up. You're a drunk.
Shut up. Shut up.
And Gina says, you need to stop saying that. I don't like it. Thank you. Hallelujah, Gina, because I don't like it either. And even if Shannon is like an alcoholic, what does that literally have to do with you doing this text message saying you're going to background check Ryan? I mean, literally take accountability. Literally. And then I feel like people would move on or like Tamra better. Because at the end of the day, all these ladies are talking about each other. All these ladies are catty. That's why they're on the show. But it's when you know you're wrong, just say, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. I had concerns because you were my friend. Then maybe Jen will be like, okay. But then they all dismiss themselves from dinner. Katie tells Jen she loves that she stuck up for herself because she said in the past, you know, she has never stuck up for herself against Tamra. But she's now kind of coming into her own, and it took her a whole season to figure it out. But I do like that Jen is sticking up for herself, and she's given it to me in the confessionals. I like what she's saying. And I really like Jen. You could tell she's a nice person, so we're putting Ryan aside. I don't like when Tamra is mean to Jen because also at the end of the day, she's a literal full-blown grown woman. So if she wants to be with Ryan, that's fine. You need to stay out of it. Okay, Tamra? And then Tamra and Heather are having some champagne alone in the room because right now they're basically the only ones that like each other. And then she, of course, had to say she really wants to bring up this information to Gina about Shannon digging up info about Gina potentially pushing Travis down the stairs. And I was like, what? Like, I never remembered hearing about that. So then they flashed like the TMZ article. And this all had to do with his ex-wife. So I'll talk about it at the end because Gina actually explains it to me. Because I'm like, oh, that's definitely, if we want to talk about defamation, we know Gina would never push Travis down the stairs. Like, that's just ludicrous. But then Gina, Katie, Shannon, and Jen are supposed to go on this tour the next day. But they are being stopped because Shannon is constipated. So it has now been like 3 days, 4 days. Shannon was complaining about it the night before. Nothing has still happened. She's like bent over in the fetal position, almost crying. So then Katie goes and gets like an enema and she's even offering to administer it. I'm like, oh my God, this is TMI, but I love it. This is reality TV because you know Shannon isn't faking and staging this because this is kind of embarrassing. So then they were like, all right, let it rip. And then Shannon's like, okay, can you like move away? I need privacy. Like probably, yeah, like we don't want to hear the explosion that's potentially going to go in the toilet. And she said it felt like she birthed twins. So she must have really been backed up. I feel really bad for Shannon. That's very disgusting. But Tamra, Heather, and Emily go to Windsor Castle. I feel like they kept saying they were like going to where the queen lives. And it's like, the queen does not live there. She lives in Buckingham Palace, but that's okay. I wish they would have went to Buckingham Palace. Like that's, I feel like the top tourist thing you would want to do while you're over there. But then Tamra says that Shannon is probably not feeling good because of what she inquired about Gina and Travis last season. And it's like, that is so random to bring that up and segue that in so Emily could be like, oh, what are you talking about? So supposedly she called Taylor Armstrong's husband, who was a lawyer, to see if there was any documentation about a fight that Gina and Travis had involving the ex-wife and involving these potential stair pushing down. That was going to be her smoking gun at the reunion because Shannon and Gina were not in a good place. Now, is that dirty and catty? Yeah. But you know what? Shannon never did do it. So now that like a year has passed or more and Tamra wants to like talk about it and bring it up to Gina, it's like, you're definitely not doing it because you care about Gina. You're doing it because you hate Shannon right now. Because if you liked and cared about Gina, you would have brought this up immediately as soon as you knew it. But you were friends with Shannon, so you didn't care. You probably said mean shit on that text too. Tamra just is not loyal to anybody except like Eddie. She is not loyal to any of these women. Look, because she's been mean to Heather before. So Heather's a little like cloudy and foggy for forgetting anything Tamra's probably ever said and did to her. I feel like last season Heather was getting like ripped by some of these ladies. It is just weird. But then the whole Heather and Katie and Emily thing came up. And Emily said, it makes me upset that you think I would talk about you in front of my children or talk about you like that at all. And in the confessional, Heather said, Katie is the common denominator, so this is suspicious. And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Katie, the one that has wanted to take you down the whole time and do the paparazzi scandal, is the one that is guilty. And like I said, she's the one that has the 19-year-old daughter. That makes the most sense to me that she's sitting around trash talking to a 19-year-old girl. I don't think Emily is like calling her twin 8-year-old boys and like, hey, while I cook you guys your chicken nuggets, do you want to hear these terrible things about these ladies? They're probably like, no, what are you talking about? They're probably like, oh, you're on TV? We didn't even know. Like literally the last thing Emily would be doing is talking about Heather to these twin boys who probably don't even know who Heather is, to be honest. So then all the ladies go out to eat and Shannon and Heather go outside to talk about the night that she was very vulnerable on that trip, Heather's like trip for the fashion show thing. And she was just really upset that then Heather told the whole group about it. Because I think what Heather's not understanding is like, of course, these people like 6 months later are going to see it on TV, but maybe Shannon didn't want you to run and tell everyone right then and there. She would rather them just wait 6 months and find out and see it on TV. And she literally said, don't tell anybody about this. Because Heather's like, I didn't know it wasn't public knowledge. And then the producers flashed to, please don't tell any other ladies about this. And Heather was like, okay, I won't. I think Heather is very dismissive of other people's feelings. Like, it's okay when you're upset about the paparazzi thing, which is totally stupid. It's okay when you're upset that no one asked you how your mammogram was, which they kind of did. Stupid. And now it's like you're mad that Shannon is saying, I think it's so rude. You like talked about me when I was like crying, showing you these bloody pictures of me the night of my DUI, like probably the lowest point of Shannon's life. And she was cheated on by her husband. Like, I don't know what was probably worse for her, running into this house and the whole world knowing that she was drunk driving, or David cheating on her on TV. But then they rehash stuff like that from back in the day, which is totally goofy. And they flash back to the scene where Heather was like, please leave, we're done. So Heather claims that everyone knew about David's affair, but that no one wanted to say it on camera because they wanted to respect Shannon. So that's like what Heather and Shannon were arguing about back then. I never really knew what they were arguing about because she's like, who sent you that email and blah, 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 blah. So that's what they were talking about. They were talking about David's affair. So Shannon like knew all these people knew, but like the world, us, TV, didn't know yet. So as always, I feel like Heather and Tamra are both the same in this sense. They are trying to like rehash old stuff and be like, okay, well, remember when you were like mean to me and did this, or remember when I was nice to you and did this? You should remember that and not be mad at me right now. And it's totally like victim playing. I mean, Tamra wants to always say Shannon's playing the victim. I think her and Heather do it a little bit. But then they do go back inside. I feel like Shannon is just so freaking over this trip, and I feel so bad for her because she is the one that planned the trip and they're there for her birthday. But then Tamra says to Gina inside, so this is before Shannon and Heather come in. She's like, would you be mad if Shannon inquired an attorney to dig up dirt on you and Travis? It's like, no, I think Gina would be excited. So then Tamra says, like what she had said to the ladies earlier, that was going to be Shannon's smoking gun at the reunion and everything. So Gina said that the article was written and was called in by Travis's ex-wife. So it's a complete made-up lie. Obviously, Gina did not push Travis down the stairs. And this is what Gina was trying to describe to us, that his ex-wife is just so toxic and so terrible. She had to separate their homes because of this nonsense. And I feel so bad for her because at the end of the day, I know she's doing it to try to make sure all the kids are fine, hers and Travis's included. But at the end of the day, it's like the ex-wife is winning and making them miserable and ruin their life. And that is so satisfactory to her. Like she is probably sitting in her house like, ha, 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 I win. But you want to talk about suing people for defamation like Jim Bellino did back in the day, or Ryan wants to with Tamra? Gina and Travis should 100% sue his ex-wife for defamation, because if this was just 100% made up story and it's printed in TMZ and they're on TV, so the whole world is reading it, and there's no truth to it at all, that is literal textbook defamation. And how can you even call in a story like that and they just run it with no background check to it at all? I know it's like a gossip tabloid thing, but that's really damaging. It's not like they're saying like, oh, look at this disgusting picture of Gina. She has like 5 pimples on her face. It's like, it's alluding to her assaulting her boyfriend. Like, that's just wild to me. This can be printed with no checking, and that the ex-wife can just get away with it. It's terrible. And I feel so bad for Gina and Travis. They are still together from what I'm seeing. So I don't know when they're going to move back in with each other. I hope they can like save money and get the bigger house too, because I'm sure it was stressful to all squeeze in that house. But this is like mainly the reason why she had to separate the homes and get away from the crazy ex, which I just feel so bad for. So Shannon comes back in, and then obviously Gina says she's not happy with hearing this information. And Shannon almost like laughs and says, Tamra is the one that told me the story. And I think that Tamra and Shannon did a lot of shit talking about this group when they were friends. So now they are just using all the stuff they both said against each other. Like, I'm sure they were both talking about Gina and with Vicky probably. It was probably the Trace Amigas tour was just a shit talk tour backstage, because Vicky didn't really like any of these people. And Tamra never really liked anybody except Shannon and Vicky and like Heather. And I definitely think that's what's happening now. It's like, oh, well, you're going to be mad at me. Well, you need to be mad at Shannon too, because she said this and she did this. And then Shannon is just like, I have to believe Shannon a little bit more than Tamra, because at least Shannon does own up to stuff. Like when she is called out, like, of course she's not going to call Gina maybe and be like, hey, like a year ago I did this, but I never said anything, but I just want to tell you. So she was just, since she never revealed at the reunion, she was just never going to say it. But of course Tamra has to get Gina mad at Shannon because she wants more people to be on her side and think that Shannon is like a loser. And Shannon said to Tamra, what you do is you get drunk, you say mean things, and then the next day go, oh, I'm sorry. And then, of course, Tamra had to hit below the belt and said, at least I don't run into houses. And she just always needs to bring that up. And it's getting so old. But Tamra does do that. Like that night she went off on Ryan at Katie's house a couple episodes ago. She had one too many martinis because we saw her and Emily over serving themselves. And then she yells at them and then thinks the next day, Jen's going to be like, oh, it's okay that you said all that. Or like, oh, I know that you embarrassed me and Ryan on TV just for ratings. Cause it's like, no, you used us for like being the scapegoat. I mean, if Tamra has no basis to anything she's saying and is just purely doing it for TV value, it's still going to hurt people. Like, even if she thinks Ryan is not being investigated by the FBI, but I really think she does, you're saying it on TV. So it's obviously him and Jen are going to like you. So then Shannon storms off and says she's done. She's leaving. She doesn't care. She will take an Uber. She rips her mic pack off. I love it.
Not today, Satan.
Then they bring out the candle, or the cake with the candles, to sing to Shannon. Poor woman has already ripped her mic pack off. She is leaving, and Tamra, none other, is holding the cake. And they're like, Shannon, come back in. And then she blows out the candles. And she's like laughing. I needed and wanted Shannon so badly to storm back in there. Shannon storms the door, Jersey style, and shove that cake in Tamra's face after the candles have been blown out, of course. We don't want like extensions to be caught on fire. But that would have been freaking amazing. I'm also literally waiting for Shannon or Jen at this point to look at Tamra when she hits low about Ryan and when she hits low about Shannon's drinking, for them to both look at Tamra and say, well, at least I talked to all my kids. You can't say the same. Boom, boom. If I was them, that's what I'd say. Maybe they need to call me and I'll give them a little pep talk on what to say, because I know that's a low blow too. And I know I'm sitting here right now talking about, oh, Tamra's taking these low blows. But at some point, when you get the low blows over and over and over again, it's the same thing every week. I would say it. I would say it, because who cares? Like, obviously, Shannon does not want to be friends with Tamra anymore. Obviously, Jen doesn't. I think it's definitely done forever for Shannon, her and Vicky. So I would say stuff like that. Vicky already has. And I'm thinking it's mainly because she's not on the show. But I wonder if Vicky was on the show this season and Tamra was being that mean to Shannon with Vicky present, and or being that mean to Vicky. I think Vicky would have said it on camera. I do, because she's an OG and she doesn't give an F. And I don't think it's mean when someone's being that mean to you to say something to that level, because that's how I would go. But the cake in the face would have been amazing. And because Tamra is paying like glam every night, like with Heather, to get her hair and makeup done. So I would have freaking messed up that glam makeup and hair with my cake. Like, of all people, you're holding Shannon's birthday cake after she storms away. Like, no, I hope you choked on the cake. So we're getting the season finale this week. We see that Jen and Ryan are going to get engaged, and that, of all people, Alexis Bellino is going to throw the engagement party. Like, no, goodbye. That's obviously all staged and planned. Ooh, John Jansen apparently is going to be there. Like, definitely not. As I said before, I'm sure his lawyer was like, you're suing Shannon, so please never be in the same room as her. But of course, you know, Mr. I don't want to be on TV just had to be on TV. And I'm just interested in how we're going to leave the season. Definitely can't wait to see this reunion. I heard there was a lot of screaming and yelling. I want to see, like, people being called out for stuff. I want to see Andy say to Tamra, like, why did you have to say that about Shannon every week? And you know what? Karma, Tamra, you better watch out. And apparently Ryan just sent her a cease and desist. So he did not send her like served papers, and he's not formally suing her. But I don't know. I don't think her mouth will stop yapping. So I have a feeling she'll be in a similar predicament she already was in the past with like Jim Bellino, because Ryan retained Jim Bellino's attorney. So he already knows the song and dance with Tamra, and keep saying mean stuff about Jen, Ryan, and Shannon. Like, that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to get punished. God's going to punish you. You're going to get karma. And yeah, I just really can't wait to see the reunion. Honestly, almost more anxious to see the reunion than the final episode, because it's also been nice to not see Alexis. We are going to get a pop in from Alexis at the reunion. I don't know how long. And I'd love to see what she's going to say and the questions Andy's going to ask her. Like, I do want to know if he's going to be like, why did you have to like rub it in Shannon's face? Or why did you ever think Shannon want to be friends with you? That would be, the writing questions. It's like, Erica from Hocus in Delaware wants to know, why did you ever think you would be friends with Shannon? Like, that would be my question to Jesus Jugs. Like, why would you ever think she would want to be your friend when you're with her ex-boyfriend? But not only that, he's suing Shannon. I definitely don't want to be friends with anyone that's suing me, let alone if you're dating my ex-boyfriend. Like, no, thank you. Ugh. So let's take a little break, and then we're going to talk about some Bravo tea and gossip. Do you ever struggle finding unique gifts for kids that will be excited about? Look no further. Ellie and Mila Boutique has everything from custom jean jackets, backpacks, sneakers, and more. Go to ellieandmila.com. That's ELLIEANDMILA.com to use my code BRAVOT10 to receive 10% off your order. I know my daughters have the jean jackets and the fanny packs from there. I'm going to get them backpacks, and I just got them sneakers. They are so cute. They kind of look like golden goose sneakers. Everything is just so unique. So get them for your own kids or for gifts, friends, baby showers, anything. Everything is perfect. So that's ellieandmila.com and use my code BRAVOT10. And we're back. So let's get into some gossip, and then we will talk about the 2 trailers that we got this past week. So I want to start it off with Brandi Glanville having a little too much fun on her Sunday Funday, because that's all I can equate it to by what she tweeted or X'd. I mean, I still have to say tweeted. X'd doesn't even make sense. So she said, "Happy Sunday Funday. It's been almost 2 years now since a lying, short, red-haired, closeted old lesbian ruined my life. Girl, lean into," and then she put 3 like emoji rainbows, and it's a beautiful space. When you come out, your family will be able to finally speak their own obvious truths.
Ha ha, laugh, funny.
I don't think this is going to go over well for Brandi, because we already are never going to see season 4 of The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. Because I don't know how they would cut enough out. There's been multiple lawsuits that originated from the season. But Brandy's always like, oh, I'll be happy if you release it, and then I'll be like cleared and everyone will see this. And Brandi recently got dropped by her legal team. So I feel like that's why she's kind of like spiraling out of control, i.e., probably drinking. It said it was 10:51 p.m. when she tweeted this, whatever. So I feel like this is what she does, though. She like makes it hard to believe her, because I don't think Caroline is a closeted lesbian and like wants to marry a woman at all. Maybe they got drunk and she was like kissing on her, but like, haven't we seen that on the Housewives? And the people aren't even gay. Like Tamra like made out with somebody. She always runs around without her shirt. So I don't know. Brandi is really just taking it so far. She really is not a good look for her. She is spiraling. Caroline is the one that's going to win ultimately in the public eye, because she is just leaving it be. So she doesn't even want to entertain the insanity that all this is. So since we will never see the season, we will never know. Some of the cast that was on it, like Camille Grammer, even Vicki Gunnarsson, they do support Brandi. I'm not saying they necessarily say, oh yeah, everything Brandi's saying is 100% true. But I think they are saying that Brandi is being like crucified for something that was just fun. And Caroline, I don't think Caroline was like in fear for her life either. So I think both of them are stretching the truth a little bit. Like they always say, there's 2 sides of the story, and then somewhere in the middle is the truth and lies the truth. But I am sad that we'll probably never see that. But we will talk about 2 things that we are going to see. So The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, we got the trailer. And I'm not saying the trailer was like bad, but like I also feel like I enjoyed the Southern Charm trailer that we got better. Dorit's going to be single. Kyle's going to be single. Sutton is talking to Garcelle. She said, I don't feel the need to bow down to the altar that is Kyle Richards, because we see at the beginning Kyle is like crying and she's like, we're all grown adult women. We should be ashamed to be doing this to each other, every one of us. And it's like, well, what do you mean? I want to know if we are going to even see or hear anything about Morgan Wade, because I feel like when you go on both of their Instagrams, they just are not BFF4L anymore. Like Kyle wanted us to understand last season that, oh, she's just like my best girlfriend. She's like my best friend. It's like, well, where is she? Because I sniff a breakup and that's why she's no longer on your social media, even though. So they don't have any pictures and stuff together anymore. But if you go on Morgan Wade's, which I did, Kyle likes and comments on every single one of her photos. But Morgan Wade never does the same for Kyle. And they are just not in photos together anymore. Like, if that's your best girlfriend and you spend so much time together, like, why aren't you in photos anymore? And why aren't you like following her all over around the world like you used to, which is also a weird thing to do if you're just friends. But I don't think we're going to get another season of Maurizio's show on Netflix, which he was giving us way more information about their separation on that. So that's why I need this season of Beverly Hills to give me some more answers. And if Kyle won't do it, I don't know what to tell you, girl. But I am excited to see a single Dorit. I think that's going to be interesting. Like, I could see her like having a fling with some like young hot guy. We're getting Jennifer Tilly as a housewife. That's going to be exciting. We're getting somebody else. And then thank God we were getting Kathy Hilton back. I'm wondering if we're going to see anything of Kim Richards, because we're now seeing that she fell off the sobriety wagon and they have a 5150 on her. So that is like someone's responsible for her, kind of like the Britney Spears thing. So I wonder if we're going to see any of that, if Kyle will even want to. I'm now thinking like that's why Kyle was getting sober also. I think maybe it was the Morgan Wade, but maybe it was Kim and she didn't want to blow Kim's cover and say that. But I think two could have gone hand in hand. But I really, really need to know what Maurizio did, because I was like thinking about this yesterday when I was watching the trailer. And I'm like, okay, Kyle said there was no infidelity. So to me, that means obviously nothing physical. But then to me, nothing in the DMs or conversating either, because that's infidelity too. Like, doing something physical is, or some people think only physical is cheating, but no, you could be having a full-blown emotional affair through the DMs. That's cheating too. Sometimes that's even worse because that's more of a connection with somebody else. So if it's not either of those things, I don't know what would make her want to get away from that man after all this time. I don't think it would be any of the family stuff, because that happened a long time ago, the separation from the Hiltons. And at the end of the day, Maurizio, I don't think he like screwed them. He was just looking out for himself. And I don't really think he's in competition with them either. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't the Hiltons just do hotels? Do they do real estate? I mean, I guess the Hilton in Highland, is that the real estate? But it's like, okay, so you're telling me nobody else that's ever worked for you has gone and opened up a real estate agency? Like, get real. I mean, even the little twins, what are the Selling Sunset people, like, oh, the Oppenheim group, like, I bet people have worked for them and left and done their own thing or gone to other places. And it's like, that's just how it is. It's like if you have a hair salon and you have hairdressers there, it's inevitable one of them is probably going to leave one day and have their own hair salon, and you can't like hate them because they're a hairdresser too. Or maybe they'll just go rent one of those suites and work for themselves. I mean, it's just the name of the game. And as long as you leave on a high note, and obviously it was awkward for Maurizio to do it anyway because they were family, but I feel like they're so mad at him. And I don't think that's what it would be between him and Kyle, because also, if he didn't leave and do the agency, definitely don't think they would have the life that they have. I mean, they talked about financially struggling for a long time. So he obviously was just worried about his family. And I know that Kyle makes money, but like not like the agency money. So I also felt it was weird last season how mad she was that he's working, because it's kind of like, okay, well, he needs to make money for everyone. And it was okay when you were traveling around the world with Morgan Wade, but it's not okay when he's traveling for work with the agency. Go with him. She was like disgusted and didn't like want to go with him or like put in the hard hours. I don't know. Like I just listened to Jennifer Aiden on Kim D's podcast over the weekend, and she was talking about when Bill was in his residency, how she was basically raising their children all by her lonesome. And at one residency he did, it was like in a burn unit or something. They were in Westchester, Pennsylvania, which is like 30 minutes from us. And then he had to go to Michigan. So they had no family, no friends. She was all by herself. She said she had to like schlep to the store with her 3 kids in the night to get milk. She had no help. So those are the hours she was putting in, though, for the life they now have. Like she knew there was going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Like it's not always going to be like this. He needs to do his fellowship. He needs to do this. He needs to work those late hours. And then one day he can make his own schedule and help me, or we can pay for help, or we'll be back where our family is so they can help me. And I kind of feel like that's where Kyle and Maurizio were, but she should have been lucky because her kids were all grown up. Like the only one that still technically needs care is Portia because she's like 16, 17. So when this was happening, probably age 15, 15 and a half, 16, okay, so Maurizio's not there. Like, I think you're okay if you have to be alone with Portia for a week. Now, are you going to be sad and miss him? Yeah, but he's doing this for work. And if you can, go travel with him. I don't know. It's just like weird to me last season that she was so mad at him when he was working. But I'm very excited that we're going to get them back in December, I think it was. I don't remember the exact date of theirs, but I know the exact date of Southern Charm, December 5th, coming back. That trailer was red hot. So let's break it down. So we don't have Olivia Flowers coming back. Very sad about that because she just got engaged, and I feel her story would have been very interesting. And she said she almost felt like fired-ish. Like they came to her and was like, oh, well, we see you're like not really in Charleston and you're in Texas a lot. So like, I guess you're just like separating from us. And she's like, no, like if you want me to sit around in Charleston when we're not filming, I will. But like, just tell me that. So I feel bad. I feel like it's going to be a mistake not having her on. I know they probably want to keep Taylor because she was like drama last season. But excuse me, if we have to pick between Taylor Ann or Olivia Flowers, my vote is for Olivia Flowers. Thank you. Bye. So we get everyone kind of questioning, and when I mean everyone, it's like Shep and Austin, about Craig cutting back on the drinking, because I feel like he was just maybe looking back on himself on TV. He's now, 35, 36. He's probably like, all right, I look a little embarrassing. I have a business that I run. I have a girlfriend who is on TV as well. That Paige is always very composed on TV. And he's probably like, I don't want to be like an idiot. And I feel like people probably used to like write like, oh, you look like a slob and you're like drunk. So he wanted to give himself a little image makeover. And it's not like he's like crazy because it's okay when everyone else decides to have a sober lifestyle, i.e. Kyle Richards. And Craig isn't even saying like, oh, I need to have a sober lifestyle. He just said he doesn't drink liquor anymore because he didn't like how he was liking. So he enjoys the beers and he enjoys the wines. So Austin is saying, yeah, Craig acts like if he opens a beer on TV that like his business is going to like concave. And I love the fourth wall breaking. And Paige said they are foaming out the mouth to blame me for your like changes. And agreed. I'm sure they both are. They're probably like, oh, you're so changed since Paige. But it's like, it's not like he's changing for the worse. He's changing for the better. And inevitably, we do make minor changes when we're with people. Like, example, oh, maybe Craig had all the free time in the world and hung out with you and saw you every single day. Well, he's obviously not going to do that now when he has a girlfriend, and neither would you, Austin, if you had a girlfriend. So, and I think Austin does have a girlfriend, or at least he did, I think, when they filmed the show. But he probably doesn't anymore just because he's a douche. But I don't know why Austin and Shep want to like act like Craig has changed for the worse. He's making himself better and they should be proud. And I'm pretty sure Shep is sober now. I don't know if it was when they filmed the show, but I'm pretty sure he went on that like journey or vacation and said he was going to lead a sober lifestyle. So it's like, okay for you to do that, but not Craigie. Okay, bye. And then what was really interesting is these two new ladies we're going to get. So one said she used to sext Craig. I was like, oh shit. And then the other one said she used to hook up with Shep. And I was listening to Mention It All podcast, and I'm pretty sure he said that she used to be on The Bachelor. And I was like, oh, that's juicy too. So I'm going to miss Olivia, but at least the two girls they're bringing in have ties to the group and in a messy way with the boys. Like, I like the younger cast to have the drama. I don't like the housewives to have the extreme catty drama. Like what we're getting in OC right now is just too dark of drama. But I like this, like, oh yeah, I used to hook up with Shep and now I'm like here. Like I like that. And then Shep has a girlfriend or a love interest. And Madison is telling Miss Pat, yeah, you know, she's a big fan of Southern charm. So I love that fourth wall breaking. And then Miss Pat says, stalker. And it's true. You can tell just in the little clip, he's given this girl a gift. I hope to God it wasn't a ring. Must have just been something else. She could have cared less. And to me, that's weird that Shep is acting like that because he, to me, seems like, oh, if you don't like me, on to the next one. I'll go get somebody else. I mean, look at him with Taylor. Taylor was obsessed with him and he had to go get somebody else. But that's how those type of men think. Like, once the chase is over, they don't care. So the fact that this girl isn't really caring, it's like he's working for her affection. So he's chasing her, essentially. But if she's a big fan, she wants to be on the TV show. So of course she'll film with Shep and probably get like meals paid for and obviously a present bought for her. JT is going to be hitting on Vanita. So obviously I've missed something. Like, does Vanita not have a boyfriend anymore? Because last season she had a boyfriend. Not that he really filmed, but she had a boyfriend. So we haven't seen, I mean, it's been like a year almost since Southern Charm has been out. So obviously they have broken up. I don't really keep up with all of them. I feel like I only naturally keep up with Craigie because he's with Paige. So I also am glad that we're going to see Paige on the show, but not like, oh, she's a full-time cast member. Like, I like the pop-ins, and I wonder what would happen one day. Like, let's say Paige moved down there. Would they just make her a cast member on Southern Charm? Because she easily still could film Summer House because it's just on the weekends. So, I don't know. I'm wondering if we'll get any more talks about when they will cohabitate together because I think Craig's house is all finished for this season. So we're going to see his palatial backyard that looks just charming and his little gardens he has. I like this side of Craigie. So Austin and Shep can like zip them lips because I like how he's changed. And yeah, he's just matured and seen that he doesn't want to act like a buffoon like you people do on TV because it's bad for business. I had to take a little sip of water on my rant because not everyone understands too. People could go to Sewing Down South and not even know that Craig's on TV. I know that's weird to think and say because we all love these Bravo shows so much. But like an old lady who doesn't even know the TV show exists could just be walking into the store and be like, oh, this is a nice pillow. I would love to decorate my whole house in it. And what if he was there like doing a cast like thing and being drunk? I don't know. Or what if like an old lady was like, oh, I walked by the store the other day, had these nice pillows in it. And then what if someone was like, oh no, he's on TV and he's a disgusting human. He's a drunk. She'd be like, oh, well, I'm just going to go buy pillows from somebody else then and not Craig. So Austin and Shep don't know. And Austin should know because he has like a beer company, but obviously that goes to partying and kind of being an idiot, I guess. So he doesn't understand. I'm wondering how the pillow talk with Austin and Craig is going. Also, I feel like when men get in squabbles, like they could fist fight and like an hour later they'll be like sitting and having beers together. So I'm not going to read too much into them giving Craig some shit, but I can't wait to see this like love triangle we're going to get with JT. So this girl was writing under the pictures and saying, I can't believe JT was doing this while I was dating him. I don't know if she's going to be on the show or she was just commenting after the trailer came out. I don't know. And I'm curious why Vanita all of a sudden like is attracted and likes JT. That's weird. Guess he got over Taylor quick. Remember, he was like obsessed with Taylor. I felt so bad for him. Like, I feel like now I'm not going to like JT this season. He wasn't like my favorite last season, but I didn't mind that he was there. And I did like when he was calling Austin and stuff out. But oh my God, he was just dying for Taylor's attention and affection. And it was like sad. It was giving desperate vibes. But I'm excited when those two shows are going to come back because I always do my recaps and that's going to be fun. And I always love to shout out that Craigie is from Delaware, where I am from, but he's from the beach. So not the same place, but same state. And in other news, we have a little holdup on the filming for Vanderpump Rules. So Sheena has come out on her podcast and said that she would like a farewell season because now it's not confirmed, I guess, that they're filming. I read an article that said they picked cameras back up and they were filming. So that is not true. Ariana and Lala are the ones holding it up a little bit. They want more money. Ariana also has reasons because she's booked and busy. I'm sure she wants more money to compensate that she doesn't even talk to any of these people. And Lala too. Lala was just on Jeff Lewis live the other week. She said that there is no going back with Ariana. There is no repair. I don't really know why. It's pretty wild to me. I don't know why Lala hates her so much. Why? Because she wouldn't film that fake scene with Tom Sandoval. That's not your business. She didn't ruin them not having a show again, in my opinion. Tom Sandoval and Raquel did. And if we need to just pin one person and not two people, it's Raquel. I'm sorry. Tom Sandoval totally had equal part in it, but at least he's admitting to it because he went on another podcast last week. I don't know whose it was, but I did post the clip that he's like, she needs to take accountability. Like she's taking zero accountability. At least I'm saying, yeah, I cheated on Ariana and had an affair. She's saying I brainwashed her and like made her take her clothes off. And I agree with them. It's hard to say we agree with Tom Sandoval, but I do. Nobody made you kiss him or have a 9-month affair. And if you were starting to feel icky about it, say something. But instead, for 9 months, you lived a double life. So you are equally as dirty in it as Tom Sandoval. So do not try to make him sound like he's like Marilyn Manson and like, or I mean, Charles Manson. I just said Marilyn Manson, even though Marilyn Manson was apparently like being terrible to women as well. But Charles Manson, like hypnotizing and making you kill people. And you'd be like, oh, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like hypnotized by this creep. No, not at all. Raquel, Rachel, whatever name you want to be formally known as. I mean, I think they ruined the show. So Lala holding this resentment and non-unified girl power with Ariana makes me upset. And listening to her Jeff Lewis episode, it's like at least Jeff Lewis and Ryan Bailey was the guest with her. And she's like, yeah, do you have stuff to say to me? Because you had a lot to say to me on your show this whole season because it's probably shit talking Lala. I don't listen to him. I've heard him before, but yeah, but rightfully so. And him and Jeff were kind of like, I mean, why is there like no reconciliation? And like there's no reconciliation with Katie. What the hell did Katie do to you? Besides like maybe be a little catty. But it's like, you're really catty too. Lala kind of reminds me of like how Tamra's being right now. She has no loyalty to anybody. She will do whatever she needs to do for the TV ratings. And that's it. Like Sheena better watch her back. Like she could turn on Sheena if there's one more season. Who knows? Just for something to do. And I don't like that because I feel like they all have interesting aspects in their life that we don't need fakeness. We really don't. I mean, I find all of their lives fascinating. And just them going out and their trips and stuff, you don't need to have fake drama. Or like Ariana fake standing there with Tom. Like, would you fake stand there with Randall, Lala? I don't think so. So that's also what they were talking about on Jeff Lewis too. They were talking about how she just could not get on board with how much Ariana's like, everyone needs to stop making me do like a scene with him, but I live with him. So Lala just could not wrap her head around that or get over that. So somebody called in, literally ripped Lala a new asshole. It was actually pretty funny. And she's like, how dare you say that she should just move out, or now you're saying you have resentment towards her because she was still living with Tom. You don't know people's situations. She's like, I had to leave my house behind and all I took with me was a bag. And that was hard for me to do, which I understand. It's like, I think if Ariana would have moved out, she would have almost like relinquished her rights to the house. I know that sounds strange. And it's like, oh, well, how could that happen? It does. It's like if you're going through a divorce. Jeff Lewis said it, and it happened to his friend. Didn't name names, but he said one of his female friends is going through a divorce. The attorneys were like, obviously, try to hold out and just cohabitate as best as you can. And they have kids. So she's like, it's just so toxic. I need to leave. So she relinquished her rights to the house and left. No, that's not fair at all. But do you want to stab each other or your kids witness any more evilness? So Ariana didn't have kids. She could barricade herself in that room because she was not going to give up any money that she had into that house, which I don't blame her. So Lala, you don't have any say because you know why? You had to move out of the house. It wasn't your house. It was Randall's house. So you should move out. Why would you stay? You can't take the house away from him. It was in his name always and was always his house. It's almost like you were like a guest, a permanent guest for the time being. But I don't like that she's like, oh, Ariana should just leave. Because also, I'm sorry, you have said in the past your parents paid for your rent when you first moved to LA. I know her mom probably still just gives her money. I know Lala makes money. I'm not stupid. But I'm sure her mom, like any money she had, she just gives to Lala because she lives in her house. So she probably helps her pay for the bills and everything. So it's like, I don't like when people want to totally compare and say, oh, well, I moved out, so you should too. It's like, not the same situation, girl. Not the same situation at all. But apparently they will be selling their house soon. Yeah, can you believe it? It's been this long. Thank God Ariana got all those opportunities and could afford to buy a house on her own. And Tom moved out too. So obviously he has like gotten over the fact that he can afford that house on his own because he can't. And it's just weird that he would want that giant house all to himself. But I feel like that's pretty much it. I saw that Lindsay had her baby shower. She is just a growing, and I can't wait to see that baby. And I'm sure she's getting hangry these days.
How many sandwiches have you made for me?
So I'm excited for this season of Summer House also because her and Carl were both in the house, and she's pregnant. That's crazy. I think that's how we should leave off. Just sitting, marinating, thinking about Lindsay and Carl cohabitating in a Summer House house, because I'm sure at the first of the year, we're probably going to get a trailer for Summer House, which I will be very excited for.
As always, this was so fun, and you could find me on Instagram at Bravo T with the Stay at Home Mom, Spotify and Apple. Till next time, see ya.